Good morning. I'm starting up the camera to follow along with my daily meal preparations and talk a little bit about how the carnivore diet has been working for me. This package of meat I just pulled out of the fridge, and as I pulled this package out of the fridge, I got another package just like this out of the freezer and put it into the fridge so that I have one thawed out for tomorrow morning, and this package from today is going into the fridge so it'll be thawed out for the following morning. First step, I put the beef right into a skillet. Cast iron skillet works great. And then I add salt. I use a measure just so that I can keep track. Right now I'm going to do 1/8 of a teaspoon on one side, flip the meat patty over, and do 1/8 of a teaspoon on the other side. 2 half-pound patties. That seems to work well. And as I flip this so that the salt side is now down, I will salt the other side, and then I start up the propane cooker. Another 1/8 of a teaspoon. And as I do 2 meals a day, right now, this will be 1/2 of a teaspoon of added salt for the meal. And I had been doing a lot more for each meal. And wanting to test out doing a little bit less just to see how that would go. The reason that I increased my salt as much as I had is because of the nighttime leg cramping. And that has subsided. No muscle cramps in the calves for quite a while, for weeks. So now I'm decreasing the salt and using that as a gauge to know if maybe I need to add more again. There it's starting up. As this is cooking, it makes a little bit of a noise, so there won't be a lot of talking, but I will address a few things as we go. And one of the things I want to mention, even while that's cooking, is that I have not eaten since noon yesterday. So this will be 20 hours of fasting before I eat this pound of beef. And I'm going to cook a pound of beef and 2 eggs for this meal. So appetite right now, I'm ready to eat. Food sounds really good. Interestingly, I'm not starving. I'm not like, oh my goodness, I need food so bad I haven't eaten since noon yesterday. Energy levels have been stable, very consistent. Energy levels have been very good. And while I finish a meal, I feel a sense of satisfaction, but I don't feel an energy spike as I would back in the days when I was eating foods with carbohydrates. So with that, we're gonna let this cook, and I do a 5-minute cook time, and then I'll flip it over and cook another 5 minutes for a 1-pound serving of beef in this skillet with this cooker. And if I feel like it's splattering, I use the splatter shield and it works great. So we'll give it 5 minutes and we'll be back. Started using a iodine, and this is a nascent colloidal iodine supplement, and I use 2 drops a day currently, and may reduce down to 1 drop a day. But what I do is I put a little bit of water just to taste, just to dilute the iodine so that I'm not tasting it directly, and do 2 drops. And I've been doing that every morning. Within 2 weeks of beginning carnivore, I added the iodine, and 2 weeks in, started the iodine, and it instantly affected my sleep dramatically. I wish that I had known this years and years before, which I had known that salt with iodine helped my sleep a little bit years back. So I would use iodized salt, but not much. And for the most part, the iodine doesn't have a lot of taste to it. But if it's more of a flavor than you enjoy, just add more water, dilute it down. For the most part, it's not an unpleasant taste, at least for the iodine that I found. And here we are, alarm is going off. Got our 5-minute timer and moving the grease splatter and turning it over. There we go. So that is going to cook for another 5 minutes. Reset the timer, and it's going. For egg carton, I got a camping egg holder. I can store the eggs in the carton without having them get damaged as much as it does in those regular store egg cartons. And as we're coming up on the 5 minutes of cook time, I will often turn off the fire on the stove about a minute, at least 30 seconds before the timer goes off, as the heat from the cast iron is going to continue the cooking, and we're getting pretty close to the 5-minute anyway. And there's the timer telling us the time is up. I will leave the fat from the meat in the skillet for cooking the eggs so it doesn't stick. And while I've been doing a lot with butter in the past with the carnivore, right now I've eliminated butter just for myself. So I'm cooking in the fat of the beef. Many people will say that they salt to taste. I've realized that when I salt to taste, I barely use any salt. When those are done cooking, we'll start recording again. Some mornings I'll cook up a sunny side up egg, and some mornings scrambled eggs. This morning doing an easy over, and managed to break the yolk on that one. And this is how I enjoy eating a pound of ground beef and 2 eggs, and then I pour the fat over the whole thing so that I'm getting all of the nutrients out of the fat. And there it is. Typically, I will let it sit for a minute, almost the way that a person would let a steak sit for a couple minutes before they cut it and eat it. I'll go ahead and let the beef sit for a minute or 2. And after a minute or 2, coming back, and for preparing the meal to eat, I just like to use my spatula and cut it up into chunks so that I'm not trying to use a fork to cut it inside of this dish. Like the dish, but the sides are really high and it's difficult to cut stuff. And this works like a charm, so there we are. And as it's a beautiful day outside, I'm going to take all of my food and go sit outside. So I'll bring the camera out and talk for a minute. Testing for sound. As I'm starting to eat this meal, I don't feel a hunger that would say I've almost fasted for an entire day, but it has been 20 hours. I feel a sense of anticipation that looks delicious. And as the energy levels are fairly consistent since I ate last, very pleased. And as I'm getting ready to eat, I know that it's going to be delicious. So let's test it out and find out. Now that is delicious. Have a good appetite this morning. And for the food that I have here, it's going to be really easy to just eat it up. Wow, that breakfast was delicious. Really enjoyed it. One of the important parts of each meal, to me, is the last 2 bites. And on those last 2 bites, I'll ask myself, am I really hungry enough to eat this? As if I'm breaking the momentum of just eating the food. And as I sit there and think about, well, there's still room in the stomach and it still tastes really good. So yeah, I'm still hungry enough. And then as I finish the last bite, as I finish eating the last bite, I think to myself, did I need more food? And for this meal, feeling very content, very satisfied that my stomach is full, that my appetite is satisfied, and I'm doing great and feeling really good. So that's one of the important check-ins that I do for each meal, is to make sure that the last 2 bites are telling me, did I eat enough and did I eat too much? Of course, if I were to get the message that I wasn't hungry enough to eat the last couple of bites, then I may reduce the serving size in the future. Or if I was really hungry and thought, man, I could actually use some more food, then I'd simply increase the serving size and test it out that way. Some people like to eat to taste, where they simply eat until they're full and they've cooked more than they would eat, and then they throw it back into the fridge and save it for another meal. And whichever works the best for you is the approach that you would take. For me, I find that if I keep track, it allows me to kind of have a better system of feedback for the things that I keep track of, like weight gain or loss, and how my stomach's feeling, and how I'm feeling through different parts of the day. Knowing how much food I ate helps me to keep track of that. So that's the strategy that I use. And while each person is going to pick the strategy that fits the best into their lifestyle, the way that they look at their health and the way they look at their food, that only makes sense. So this is just a glimpse into the approach that I take. Some of you may find it useful, and others of you may already have your own figured out. If so, that's awesome. And that's it for now. So here I am at lunch. I obtained a package of 1 pound pack of meat from the freezer, and then put it into the fridge directly behind my stash of 2 chunks of ground chuck that I'm eating. And with the pack from the freezer into the fridge, I took out one of the packs of meat. I'm slicing it up so that it'll cook up nicely. And this will be my lunch. This is a brisket cut, and just divided into 1 pound packages for meal planning. And it's been delicious. I will salt it and get it cooked up. Good. At this point in the day, I'm not feeling hungry like I do in the mornings, where I feel like, oh wow, I just can't wait to eat. Instead, it's more of a feeling like I'm digested, like my stomach is not filled. I don't have any feeling of fullness. And because during the day I don't feel a lot of hunger, at this point in the day I'm not feeling really hungry, so I'm mostly relying on, if the food tastes good as I eat it, then I'm on track and I'll keep eating. And if I feel like I just feel full, and I feel like the food is heavy in my stomach, and it just doesn't have any interest anymore, then I would know to stop eating for lunch. I've been doing this for weeks, and the 20-hour intermittent fast has been doing very well. So I'm expecting and anticipating that this is going to be the perfect amount for this meal. I'll get the burner fired up, and I will cook this for 3 minutes, turn it over, and let it cook for 3 more minutes for a total of 6 minutes cook time. And here we are at 3 minutes, turning over the beef. Three more minutes and it'll be done. And the 3 minutes is up. And the food is done. Often when I'm making meat like this, whether it's steaks or roasts or whatever, often I will use the cutting board. I'll let what fat drip off, because I want the fat in my food. Nice piece of fat on there. That is delicious. Wow. So good. Even though I wasn't feeling hunger as I ate just 4 hours ago, I'm ready to eat again. And this is going to be good. This is good. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and chew through this pound of steak, and I'll get back with you later. Breakfast was $3.50 plus 2 eggs, which less than $1, even at today's egg prices. $3.50 for the beef this morning, and 50 cents for the eggs. For lunch, this pound of beef was $2.99, and that is excellent meal budgeting. Today's food is $7, and it is so delicious. Like it is really, really tasty. So good. I'm happy with the meal, and it is not up to the level of a ribeye, and the budget factor plays in a really good part, especially week after week. And the other comment that I would make is that within 5 minutes of finishing eating this, 5 minutes later, I won't feel any differently chewing a ribeye. Once I'm done chewing it, it's pretty much all the same, and my body is happy with it. So with that, back to eating some brisket. As I just finished the last 2 bites, very tasty, very delicious, feeling full and settled, and I'm going to show you my next way of measuring if I know if I'm getting enough food. So we're going to jump to the bathroom scale. Time for the moment of truth. Gonna step onto the scale. Zoom in a little bit here. 180 pounds, which is my target weight for right now and the activity level I'm at. So it's towards the end of the day today. Sun's going down. It's about 7, and I ate at noon, and through the day feeling good. Energy levels were consistent, and went for a walk. Walked about 4 miles, and at the end of the day, I'm not feeling hungry. I'm not feeling like, oh man, what time do I get to eat? I'm not even thinking about, gosh, I can't wait till I eat in the morning. Feeling energy that's consistent and smooth, So it's good. That completes the journal of how the eating is going.